I was a kid, I decided that I didn't want to grow up. And so, because I'm from a science background, I do use acronyms quite a bit to memorize things. So I actually use 3 things to remind me on how to never grow up. And one of them is, actually I'm not going to tell you yet. Okay, stay tuned. So, if you're to ask me what is one thing that I've learned in my entire life that I can pass on to everyone in the world that will maintain your youth, it is curiosity. That's the C. So the acronym that I actually have is CAR, car, vroom vroom, car. And curiosity, I've been curious since I was a kid, and I still am curious today. When I was a kid, I saw this commercial, and no doubt all of you have probably seen it, from Toys R Us. And it goes something like this. It goes, okay, watch me screw this up. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. Come on! I thought you guys were going to sing it. There's a million Toys R Us that I can play with. All right, I got it? And I was like, wow. I was like, that's amazing. Not that there's a million toys, but that the concept of never growing up? Like, seriously? This is a true concept, by the way. I'll teach you in a sec. Okay, so I was like, okay, wicked. Because I looked around and I had my parents, my 2 lovely parents, who used to come home every single night, very tired. They used to work from morning till night and tirelessly, and I used to think their life was really dull and boring. And I used to compare my life, or the life of my friends' parents, and the exact same thing, very dull, very boring. And I was like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be dull. I don't want to be boring. As a kid, and I'm sure you guys can remember, and I'm sure you can attest to it, and you're living it right now, is that you can have fun with anything. We used to run around and chase each other, hide and go seek, remember? And we used to have fun. We didn't need these fancy cars. We didn't need anything fancy from the stores or whatever. We could, as growing up, actually I didn't have anything. We didn't grow up in a privileged family, and so we had to use our imagination to play. And so we didn't have toys, and so this was my G.I. Joe, okay? And this was his artillery. I kid you not. I kid you not. Okay? That was before I knew what that meant. I wasn't standing up. But as a kid, I mean, you can have fun, right? Doing anything. So I was very curious as a kid. And I was like, how do I stay young forever? Curiosity. The second letter to the car is A, which stands for adventure. Okay, so I gave you that one. Okay? So I was born in Kuwait. And early on, we moved from Kuwait, we moved to Vermont in the United States. And then from Vermont, we went to Montreal. In Montreal, we stayed there for a year, and then we moved to Ottawa. And then in Ottawa, we moved within the span of 7 years, we moved 4 times. And then from Ottawa, we went to lovely London. And then, yes. And then in London, in the span of 4 years, we moved 3 times. Okay? And then I finished my university, and I decided to go to Australia to study dentistry. So I moved again. And then in Australia, I moved 3 times. And then I came back from Australia to London, Ontario, moved to Sault Ste. Marie, then I moved to Trenton, and then I moved back to London. Yeah. So the act of adventure actually kept me young because I was always not settled. I was always on my tippy toes. Okay, so that's my second thing that I always remind myself. I'm always feeling like, am I feeling old right now? Like, no, just start moving. Okay, move somewhere else. Okay, experience something. Now, before I tell you what the R stands for, I have to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a dentist. Okay, as Kevin has already mentioned. I'm a dentist. And I am very extroverted, as you can tell. I am quite outgoing. And I seek opportunity wherever it is. It doesn't matter if it's in my favor or not. I just seek it. Okay, I look for it. And I wake up with 1,000,000 joules of energy, just waiting to blast out of my body. And I don't drink a lick of coffee. Not a drop. But it wasn't always like that. There's a point to why I'm telling you all this. It's because I designed the way that I am today. And you might think to yourself, wait a minute. You're telling me you designed the way that you are today? Are you kidding me? Yes, to a certain extent I did. And let me start by telling you that, yeah, sure, as a kid, I was very outgoing. You know, I loved attention. I used to be the clown of the class. And I used to want to grab everyone's attention all the time. But then came grade 5, when I was the subject of bullying. Okay, so I was bullied from grade 5 all the way to grade 8. And this isn't a story that I share very often. In grade 8, it got really intense. So I would leave my desk and I would come back, and the majority of my pencils and pens would be broken. And, you know, I hated science class, even though I went into science to become a dentist. I hated science class because every time the teacher would want to pair us up with someone else, no one would want to be my partner. So I hated science class. And at recess, I was the subject of tackles and of, you know, whoever wanted to shove me into the snow, that was the guy. I was the guy. So what did that do to my self-esteem? It pulverized it. It absolutely destroyed it. It ruined it. You guys get the point. And so it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for me at all, because that did a number on me. And so what happened was that I developed a speech impediment, believe it or not. And for many years, every single time I spoke to anybody, anyone at all, this is very true, I would stutter a lot. And my face would turn red, and I would perspire. And I wouldn't be able to put two words together. And the only time I could actually speak properly was when I got really emotional. And it was really hard for me, because I wanted to get out of that state. And I hated it. And I said, you know what? Gosh darn it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. It doesn't matter what it's going to take. I'm going to do it. And so I would seek every single opportunity. I would talk to strangers. I would talk to people on the bus. I would talk to whoever. And I would stutter, and I would make fun of myself. And not on purpose, but just because I wanted to get out of it. And it took years and years and years for me to actually get out of that. And change, it did. And now I can speak well, but it took a really long time. So, what is the third letter to the acronym CAR?
R.
R. Resilience. So, being resilient, thanks for paying attention. Being resilient made me stay young. Now, I'm going to finish with this. When I was 12 years old, I was grade 6. I waited until my entire class left, the teachers left, and I stayed. I don't know how they let me stay in school, but I stayed. And I waited, and then I went and I stood up on the desk of my teacher, and I faced where the students would usually sit. And I dreamt that one day I'd be standing in front of an audience delivering a speech. May this day be the first day of making this dream come true. Thank you.